PwC's 2024 Global Workforce Hopes and Fears Survey highlights that workers are increasingly prioritizing skills growth and embracing AI amid rising workloads and rapid changes in the workplace. The survey indicates a significant shift in workforce dynamics, emphasizing the importance of skills development and the adoption of new technologies to navigate increasing workloads and workplace challenges. Olusola Adewole, partner and workforce transformation leader at PwC West Market Area, joins me for this. Thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, for those who are just, hearing this for the first time, basically, what's the Employee Hopes and Fears Survey about, and which countries and continents are covered in it?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Perpetua. So the PwC Hopes and Fears Survey has been on for about 5 years now. That is our way of keeping our eyes and ears on the trends that are shaping the world of work. And this is very important information for leaders as they navigate the challenges of the times that we are in.
Right. Talking about countries, we want to know the coverage. I know 50 countries and all of that, the continents and all of those, just to have an idea.
Oh, so yeah, apologies about that. So we've covered 50 countries across the world and about six countries in Africa. So Nigeria, Kenya, Morocco, Algeria, and South Africa were surveyed. This, some of the largest economies in Africa were surveyed, and this covered about 56,000 workers that we surveyed, yes.
Right. Now, this particular survey finds that employees are ready for change. You also see a need for change. Talk to us about what is fueling this particular change, and are they really good for the employees?
Well, let me start from the last question. Change is always good. The great Einstein said only insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So change is good, and this particular change is good because what is fueling this change, number one, is technology. The rise of artificial intelligence, which has always been with us for at least 10 years or more, but more than ever before, we now have the advent of generative AI and ChatGPT, and all of the different forms of artificial intelligence are driving the changes that we see. Well, on the not so good side, we also have the financial, shall I say, economic crisis that is racking the world and driving cost of living, as it were, and therefore putting more pressure on organizations to optimize. And if you think about the word optimize, you know what that means, and that is simply trying to get more out of what you have. And so that is putting pressure. The global talent wars, which are also driven by skills, are also putting pressure on people. So if you think about it, there's hardly any developed nation of the world that doesn't have one program or the other trying to attract talented people from sadly, largely the developing economies of the world. So if you have 10 guys, 10 people in your organization who have great skills, and 6 of them jackpot, as we say, or move to the developed economies, it therefore puts a lot of pressure, not just on the residual employees, but also the entire organization. So, but it's also an opportunity for talented people to demonstrate their capabilities and also pick up new skills as they work with the organizations to navigate the trends in the environment.
Interesting. Well, talking about this, I mean, you've talked about the fact that we see increased workloads. At the same time, we also see uncertainty about job security, and even we see financial strains and all of those. How should companies navigate all of this? Because when you have a workforce that's pressured, right, left, and center, you shouldn't, or maybe you will expect some form of productivity, but you may not see that productivity. So how do we begin to solve all of these issues?
Thank you, Perpetua. I mean, great question. I think this goes back to the biggest pillar of our recommendations, and that is leadership. Tough times call for new ways of doing things. So leaders can no longer lead in the ways that we have. So if you think about just the point about changes and stress, we now need leaders who show more empathy, who are able to help their workforce to be resilient. And you have to be resilient yourself as a leader. It also calls for creating the right kind of employee experience so that you can maximize the value that people bring, even in spite of the challenges that they have. If you think about what I said earlier about the talent wars and the increasing workload, also contending with workforce optimization, it therefore means that we need the people we have to be very highly skilled workers, right? So the right employee experience helps you to keep them, but you've got to make sure that you are helping them to upskill so that they can navigate the challenges, and that way you will always win. And that puts the biggest challenge on organizations now to invest in massive upskilling for their people. So the question I always ask leaders when I get a chance to speak to them is that in the world that we're in today, what is your digital acumen as a business? And how are you growing that to respond to the changes? And when you think about technology and artificial intelligence changing almost at the speed of thought, as was said 3 decades ago, you can think it, you can bring it to pass, then upskilling is not an annual program anymore. It's literally a daily agenda for our leaders.
Right. I see you're really interested in AI and all it can do and how that it can, also help us see that sort of efficiency we're trying to see in the workforce. But then is there a possibility that AI is also a two-edged sword, such that while it could increase efficiency on the one hand, on the other, it could also be one of the biggest, stressors for employees who may be concerned about the security of their jobs?
Absolutely. So there are two big items that leaders and organizations need to espouse and sponsor so that the good of artificial intelligence is not misunderstood or misapplied. First of all, you need to build a culture of innovation in your organization. You've got to have an organization where people can try new things. I mean, artificial intelligence, if I can say it in very elementary terms, it's like a lot of Nigerians buy very high-end phones, but hardly use 10% of its capacity. So if you think about artificial intelligence, I think the greatest danger is even in just having access to those tools and not creating an opportunity for your employees to explore the full potential of what artificial intelligence can do and how it can transform your business. Just from simple, basic things like taking minutes, drafting reports. But obviously, one of the ways to mitigate this is also the governance around it, because as you know, artificial intelligence depends a lot on information that is available. So you've got to work with data governance and be sure that data quality that is available is of a high standard. And then you, as leaders and organizations, must instill confidence in generative AI, for example. So what are the algorithms behind this? So that people there's a lot of transparency, that there's no discrimination, there's fairness, and there is the right use. Right usage is always the way to go to ensure that we don't abuse the benefits of artificial intelligence.
Right. Now there's pressure everywhere, if you sort of ask me. And just as your report puts it, workers are open to the future, but present-day pressures may be clouding their vision of what the future could look like and how they can contribute. I'd like you to probably speak to what sectors or regions you found, that people were most pressured.
I think the easiest answer to that is every region, literally. I mean, one of the things that has happened in our world with technology and also with global travel, if you just think about how the pressure came from Wuhan with COVID, is that what is happening in one part of the world is impacting the other part of the world. I mean, who would have known that the war in Ukraine will affect the cost of bread in Agege, for example? So there's pressure everywhere. The difference is just in the different kinds. The coloration is that there are different kinds of pressure, but there are common pressures that exist. As I mentioned at the beginning, there's economic pressure across the entire world, right? And this is all coming out of COVID and how production lines were down and how we're all just recovering. Part of that pressure is also, like I mentioned, how technology is showing us that we can do so much more. Whereas, how agile are we in responding to the ability to do more? So there's pressure everywhere. As we say on the streets in Lagos, there is pressure, but pressures are different. And that goes back to the point I made earlier, that leaders need to recognize this. I mean, if you think about climate change, for example, you know, in the last few days or weeks, and still predicted, the floods in Lagos are just making life extremely difficult. And you know, leaders need to understand that those have realities for the productivity of their people, and in fact, in the delivery of their objectives as a business, and therefore come up with strategies to respond to that.
Absolutely. That sounds like empathy to me. Thank you so much, Olusola Adewole, partner and workforce transformation leader at PwC West Market Area. Thank you for your time on the show today.
Thank you, Perpetua.